Welcome back again, everyone, to Find Music. This is episode 177. I hope you enjoyed episode 176 from Burt Bacharach. I'm sorry to say that Fred had to go to Burt's funeral right now. No, I'm only kidding, but now we shift gears. Murray, what do you got for us today?
Very much so. Well, I'm gonna revisit my high school years, and talk about my favorite band in high school.
Wow.
It's a band you all know. It's not like
Not a discovery.
it's not a discovery, but the band is Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh yeah.
On your feet or on your knees.
Right. And and everyone knows, of course, Don't Fear the Reaper. I mean, if you listen to rock radio of any format, you've heard Don't Fear the Reaper. And of course, there's that famous, Saturday Night Live episode. And then they had a couple other hits. They did Godzilla. Yeah, there you go, Godzilla.
Gojira.
And Burning for You and all. But
Joan Crawford.
Yeah.
What high school did you go to?
Spencerport Central in upstate New York. But what I really like about Blue Oyster Cult, what I'm encouraging people to go find is the first three albums before they had a hit. I think that's when they put out their absolute best material. And kind of like I say, they were my favorite band. And then after Don't Fear the Reaper, I kind of, lost interest in them. I just don't think so.
Yeah, they went commercial. Yeah,
they went commercial, but their first three albums. So we're going to start with, we're going to start with their second album, because that's the one I started with. And this is one of those, Tyranny and Mutation. And this is a case where one of my friends, a guy named Ricky, played this for me one time, and I was just like, that's it. That's the band I want to listen to. They're absolutely amazing. And they're, really classic hard rock with a kind of little bit of evil in there. I mean, you got songs like OD'd on Life Itself, Hot Rails to Hell, Baby Ice Dog. And their guitarist, Donald Grosser, known as Buck Dharma, is still one of my favorite guitarists. Like really clean, sweet lines, but really rocking. He could play the rapid fire, but he could also slow it down and play just gorgeous pieces. So their second album is Tyranny and Mutation. Before that, I'm going to mention that Baby Ice Dog on here the lyrics were written by Patti Smith. It was my first introduction to Patti Smith was through this album, because she was going out with a keyboard player, Alan Lanier. So, but then you get their first album, just called Blue Oyster Cult. Not quite as hard rocking, or maybe that's a question of the production, that whoever, actually it's the same producer, Sandy Pearlman, but it seems like that on Tyranny and Mutation, he really upped the oomph of the songs, and they're just a little thinner on here. But again, some classic, and this has the first album had some really classic song titles. I'm on the Lamb, but I Ain't No Sheep. Before the Kiss, a Red Cap. She's as Beautiful as a Foot. But just kind of, a little more psychedelic, and but still, like, again, excellent album. And then we get the third one, Secret Treaties. And a couple of songs written by Patti Smith. Dominance and Submission, Flaming Telepaths, Harvester of Eyes. You can just tell by their song titles where they're going.
Poetic.
Yeah, poetic, but very, again, really rock and roll. And then, like I say, then they put out the live album that Jim mentioned, On Your Feet or On Your Knees, that was, these three albums in concert. And then Agents of Fortune, their fourth or fifth, depending how you count, their fourth studio album, just they went commercial. So my recommendation is, if you think you like, Blue Oyster Cult because of Don't Fear the Reaper and Burning for You, go back and check out the early stuff. And I do have to mention, I did see them during this time. I saw them 4 times, 74, 75, 76, and 77. I think the 76 show, in my opinion, was the best and ranks in among my top concerts ever. But what's also interesting is the bills they were on. The first time I saw them in 74, they opened for Black Sabbath.
Wow.
Ozzy, classic Black Sabbath. When I saw them in 75, and this is a bill that I still scratch my head over, they opened for Rod Stewart and the Faces.
Wow.
So
Little different.
Yeah. And I mean, so in 74, in my opinion, they were better than Sabbath. In 75, it's not, you can't even compare. How do you compare Blue Oyster Cult and Rod Stewart and the Faces? That's just, in 76, they were headlining, and opening for them was Rush.
Huh.
That was, and again, I personally thought they did better, but I had a lot of friends go, "Oh, Rush was so good," whatever. In 77, they headlined, and second on the bill was Leonard Skinner.
Ooh, the last
I
year.
will readily admit that Leonard Skinner blew them away.
Really?
Skinner was so good. And one of the things is that Blue Oyster Cult would end their shows with all 5 members, even the drummer, lined up in front playing guitar. Okay. So when Skinner did Freebird, they had like 4 guys in guitar. Blue Oyster Cult didn't even try to do the 5 guitar lineup because they knew they couldn't compete with the, and guitar ending for Freebird. So, but and then, I saw them again like 10 years ago, maybe. Interesting show. But they were, in a small theater. I actually went to the box office that day, got a ticket. The place was half empty. I was able to walk right in the front row and sit down. It was a second show. They had played the night before, and this was an added show. I assume the night before was sold out, and they didn't even have their leather on. They were like in jeans and t-shirts and just like being casual. I think it was a fun show. But that was, and actually one other time I saw them a few years after that, which I counted as a half a show or half of Blue Oyster Cult or something. Was it NAMM? Do you know what NAMM is?
Yes.
National Association of Record Merchandisers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Music merchandisers. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So they were doing like a showcase. So they but it was Eric Bloom, the lead singer, and 2 other guys who I don't even know who they were on guitar, who were not Buck Dharma, not any of the original members. They were all playing acoustic guitars. They did 4 songs, and it was just weird. It's like, how do you put on a Blue Oyster Cult show without Buck Dharma? But anyway, so that's my recommendation for Blue Oyster Cult.
I'll throw in my 2 cents as a younger generation guy.
Okay.
Right. Of course, I was introduced to them with the commercial breakthrough, but years later, I wanted to investigate them further, and I bought Workshop of the Telescopes. Do you know that anthology?
Okay.
It's like a 2 CD set.
Okay.
Got a lot of songs on it, a couple dozen songs, and so that introduced me to their earlier material.
Okay.
Like Flaming Telepaths and Astronomy.
Yeah. Workshop for the Telescopes is on their, that song is on their first album.
Yeah. So I'm saying to all the newbies out there, if you want to make one purchase, Workshop of the Telescopes will definitely turn you on to the full scope of Blue Oyster Cult, and you can dive even deeper.
Yep. Highly recommended.
Okay, that's 177. Thank you, Murray.
Certainly.